thanks so much for clicking on this video. Some of you may not know, I used to be a competitive cheerleader. So for 7 years of my life, throughout the whole of my teenage life, I was a competitive cheerleader. Now, many of you have heard me talking about Vicky, my best friend, or you've seen her on other videos on this channel already. Vicky is the co-owner of a competitive cheerleading team, East Elite Allstars, who are based here in Peterborough, Cambridgeshire. Now, she has asked me to do a video specifically for her cheerleading team so they can learn to do their own makeup ready for competitions. So if you are here from East Elite and you want to watch how to create this look ready for your competitions, then please keep watching. If you found this video another way and you are not a cheerleader but you want to know how to incorporate a little bit of colour into your makeup looks, and you're interested to know how a cheerleader will potentially wear their makeup to be seen on stage and on the mats or any sort of performer, then carry on watching and you can learn this look. So obviously, anyone that's on stage, if you're a performer, a cheerleader, a dancer, once you are on those mats, that floor, that stage, whatever, you will know that to stand out and to be seen through all the lights and the judges or the audience, you do need to go a little bit heavier for it really to be seen and for that to stand out. Otherwise, you will get lost on stage. So we will be using a little bit of colour and a little bit, probably more products than what you would use on a day-to-day basis, because this technically is stage makeup. I'm going to try and keep it as kind of cheap and cheerful as I can for you as well, so you don't have to go and buy lots of really expensive products, but I will be giving you alternatives as we go through. Cheaper products can give just as a good effect as well, so don't worry too much about that. They're tried and tested, so you know that they will still do the job. So to start with, we're going to start with eyebrows. This eyebrow pencil that I'm using is actually a Primark one. They are amazing. If you're going to get it, make sure you get the skinny twist up one. So this is not one that you can sharpen. It twists up. These are literally like £2, I think. They are so good. So I'm going to start underneath the eyebrow here, towards the front of the eyebrow, and we're going underneath where the brow hairs naturally are. This is so we can get a really sharp, clean finish on the eyebrow. And then we are just following that line across. We want to make this underneath line as straight and as strong as possible. After that, we're going to come up to the arch, follow that round, and then follow out the tail and extend that slightly. Then we're going to flick up the eyebrows from that structure line that we plotted in at the bottom. We're going to flick upwards, brush through with the mascara wand, and then I'll come back to you to explain the rest. So taking your pencil, draw underneath the actual brow hairs. The reason for that is so that leaves us a little bit of room to meet up to that with the concealer without hitting the brow hairs, so we can get that sharp line. Once you've plotted in that underneath line, we can work on that top arch, and then from that base structure line start flicking up into the brow hairs, lighter pressure towards the front, and then, as I said before, extending that tail round and down outwards. Okay, so we should be left with something like this. Don't worry too much if this underneath line is slightly messy at the moment, because we're going to use a concealer just to tidy all of that up and sharpen it up. So the next product I'm going to be using is a P. Louise eyeshadow base. I recommend this 100%. This is amazing, especially because we're going to be using a lot of eyeshadow and a lot of colours on the eyes. This really grabs onto the pigment, makes sure that it's really bright and vibrant and lasts all day as well, and doesn't smudge and crease, which you do not want once you are on those mats. So if you don't have this already, you can use any other concealer as an alternative. I would recommend the thickest possible concealer that you have. That will do the best job, and you don't want something too matte, because the whole idea is it needs to be tacky still to grab onto the eyeshadow pigment. So I'm going to use this on a flat brush. So something like this, it's just a typical concealer brush, so a flat concealer brush, and then I like to squeeze it so the tip is really fine, and then we're going to get a really precise line once we're carving underneath the brow. So with this step, do not be stingy. You need as much on your brush as you can, and you can see that I'm coating both sides of the brush to make sure that that end stays really sharp on the brush. Really take your time when plotting this in, going underneath that line, meeting up to that structure line that we plotted in with the brow pencil. So take your time going as straight as you can to get that underneath line absolutely perfect before you move on to filling in the rest of the lid. Get quite a lot of product all over the lid. It should look really shiny and really thick of product. Then take a fluffy eyeshadow brush and start patting all over the top of that and buffing out your edges, as you can see here. Keep patting on top. Be really careful not to ruin that straight line that you've done underneath the eyebrow. And then the consistency of that base should start turning to be less shiny and more of a semi-matte consistency. Remember to go underneath the eye as well, because we will be adding eyeshadow there too, so that just gives something for the eyeshadow to stick to. Okay, so once you've patted that in and that's all set, you should have a really even colour across the whole of your eyelid, and your eyebrow should be looking much sharper and more defined now. The colours that we're going to be using is a mix of silver, teal and a tiny, teeny little bit of black. So I don't want you all to be really scared about the fact of using colour. You just need to go with it. And this video is all about allowing you time to practice this. So by the time you get to competitions, you are comfortable with using colour and you're not scared of it going wrong, and you've had time and chance to practice that. So I'm going to mainly be using a new palette that I have, which is a Jaclyn Hill Morph palette, Morph, however you say it. So in here, you've got some really great teal colours across the bottom here. So I'm going to be mixing some of these shades together. You've also got a black in here, and we've got some lighter shades too, and like some silvery colours that we can use, but I might use some other silvers too. So anything like that that you have, you can use. Don't worry if they're not bang on. You can always mix colours, which I'll be doing today, to get the exact colour that you're after. I've got other colours here. These eyeshadows are from a brand called Melchior. I will link them in the description box as well, but they are super cheap. They're kind of, I want to say like £4 per eyeshadow, and you can go and just buy the specific colours that you like. A really good teal colour. So this one is called Dreams from Melchior. And then you've got a teal one here that I have called, well, that's actually called Emerald, and that's how that one looks. That one's got a bit of shimmer to it. So there's a couple there that would work really well, and they're really inexpensive. Or there's loads of other brands as well that are nice and cheap, like Makeup Revolution. Working with cheaper eyeshadows can be a little bit difficult sometimes, but as long as you've got a really good base on your eyes, like the Peely Weeze eyeshadow base, it will make it so much easier for you. So to start with, I'm taking a fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I'm just going to go in with the transition shade first, because you'll find that it ties everything together and it will just make it a little bit easier for you to work with the rest of the shadows. From this palette in particular, anything like all these like nudie shades up here, so anything like that, or if you don't have something neutral toned like that, then a bronzer would work perfectly for this. Before you start with any eyeshadow, it's really important that you pat over again to make sure that you've got rid of any creases that might be there. Then you can switch to a fluffy brush with our first neutral shade, or bronzer. If that's all you have, bronzer works absolutely fine. And that is going in the crease of the eye. So I'm patting that in, and then I'm softly blending that upwards. It's quite a neutral shade, so you can afford to come that little bit higher with that, just to give you room to then blend the darker shades into it. Switching now to a smaller brush, and this shade is much darker. It's a matte dark brown colour, so any matte dark brown that you have. This is going right in the socket of the eye. So this shade does need to be lower, and then you can blend that up slightly higher into the lighter shade that we put in to start with. Just don't take this too high up. We then need to go back to our Peely Weeze eyeshadow base with the original brush that we had, or concealer if that's what you used. That can go all over the lower part of the eye and then look up. So you just saw me looking right upwards. That will allow that base to transfer to the highest possible point that it can go. This is a marker for us, because this is the point that we need to go to ensure that it doesn't transfer any higher. And that is the easiest way for you to achieve a cut crease without making a mess of it. As you can see, I took that fluffy brush and I just buffed away the edge of that so we can make a nice ombre blend. Now taking a flat eyeshadow brush, I'm starting with the teal colours. I mixed a few colours together to get the exact shade that I wanted. It's quite a difficult colour to match, so you may need to just mix a few blues and greens together to get the right shade. That's going on the middle part of the eye, and then a silvery shade will be used in the inner corner corner. This is just a silvery, glittery, shimmery shade. That's going on top slightly of the teal that we just put on. Then I'll switch back between my brushes, go in with a little bit of teal again just to transition that nicely. Back with our small brush, and this is a tiny, teeny little bit of black. Be really cautious when you're using black and just use that right in the lowest point of the eye, right in that corner. And then to blend that out, this is actually a dark brown that I have on the brush now to blend that out. You don't want to be blending with black because it will just go everywhere and make a mess. So now I'm switching back between the brushes to make sure they all blend nicely together. Okay, so something I say all the time is trust the process. So please do not get to this stage and think, oh my God, it's not working for me, and take it all off and not do it, because you're never going to get there. So just trust in what you've done, trust the process. Yours will look like mine right now and it'll look crazy, but don't give up on it. And yeah, just go with it, don't take it off. You really can work with it and it will start coming around, so don't be scared and trust the process. At this point, we're going to add some eyeliner and lashes, and it will start bringing it all together. So you can either do a normal eyeliner or a wing, whatever you feel comfortable with. You can use a felt tip pen liner, a pencil liner, a gel liner, a liquid, whatever you like. I'm starting off by using a felt liner pen and drawing that straight across the lash line, going thinner into the inner corner, and then you can afford to go slightly thicker on the outer corner. And then I'm going to switch over to a gel liner on a thin brush to draw on the wing. To draw a wing, you just want to look straight ahead and angle that wing upwards from the corner towards the end of the brow. This is my own mascara, so I'm using that straight from the tube. If you are doing someone else's makeup, it's really important not to use that on them and use a disposable mascara wand. So I am just going to trim these to size. So you place them on your eyes. Anything that hangs out too long this side, you will cut off from this side, okay? So you place them on. Okay, let me zoom in and show you this. So they're placed on. I don't know whether you can see there's a bit on this edge here which is too long. So I'm going to take those off, trim that from that side, get them glued, leave them about 4 minutes until the glue is nearly see-through, and then just place them on. The best thing I can recommend for this is practice, but if you slightly tilt your head backwards, look downwards into a mirror, place the centre on first, and then pull in each of the corners, and you've left the glue to go tacky already, so it should just stick, and then just give them a little press on and they're done. Okay, so eyes are just about done. Now we're moving on to skin. I've already prepped my skin already. If you want to see how I prep my skin, then go and watch a video that I will link up here. It's a skin focused video focusing on contouring, highlighting and skin prep as well. So if you want a more in-depth detailed explanation of what I do for that, then go and watch that video up there that I've just linked, and I'll link it in the description box below as well. Today I'm going to be using a liquid illuminator over my skin before I do anything. This is brand new, I've not tried this before, but it is the Illamasqua Beyond Liquid Highlighter. I'm just using a small fluffy face brush to apply the liquid illuminator to my skin. It will just make sure that it doesn't look too flat once the foundation's on. That's going on all areas that want to be highlighted, so the higher points of the face. Now for foundation, I use MAC Studio Fix Fluid because it's long lasting and it gives medium to full coverage, so that suits me, but you can use any foundation that you have already. I do apply quite a bit of foundation to give that really flawless finish, and I'm using my Luxe blender, which will help to give you that flawless finish too. Make sure you go on your ears and behind your ears. You all have to have your hair so high up that it's going to be visible behind your ears, and even down onto the back of your neck if your foundation shade isn't quite right, or normally people just have lighter areas behind their ears because naturally that doesn't get the sun. So make sure that's covered and it will just look a bit nicer so you don't have lines. Take your time with this and really press and roll the blender to build coverage onto your skin. It's also really important that your blender is damp, so make sure you fully wet that in water for about 30 seconds, squeezing and releasing. Squeeze out the excess water and then use it that way. If you're using your blender completely dry, then it's going to soak up your foundation and you're not going to get a full coverage. I've just applied my concealer and now my contour as well, and using the same Luxe blender just to blend all of those in together. The concealer I used was the EX1 Cosmetics Delete Fluid. If you like a a really full coverage concealer, then that one is great. I will link that down below. Really, really recommend that. And the cream contour that I use is this stick. It's a Makeup Revolution, foundation stick, and this is in the shade F14. F13 is really good if you have a lighter skin tone. And I'm just adding a little bit more concealer to brighten up certain areas as well. Using a little bit of concealer underneath that contour can just sharpen up that contour and make it look a little bit neater and less messy. Now we've got all of our cream products on, we need to make sure that this doesn't move. So we need to set every single cream product that we put on with powder to really lock that in place. So to start with, I'm going to start with the bronzer. So this is a powder bronzer that we're applying everywhere that we put the cream bronzer. Then we will move on to powder. This is just a Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder that I'm using here, but you can use any powder that you already have, whether you prefer loose or pressed, that doesn't make a difference. Just make sure that you're looking for something that is photo friendly. We'll then lock in the cheek area. This is just a pinky Bobbi Brown blusher. I'm putting that on to get the colour base down first, and then I'm going to switch to another blusher which has more of a shimmery sheen to it. This is a Jordana T-shirt blusher in the shade Prom Queen. That's just going to give more of a sheen. And then highlighter right on the tops of the cheekbones with a much smaller, fluffier brush. That's going to go on the cheekbones, on the areas just a bit above the highest point of the brow arch, down the centre of the nose, the tip of the nose, and a tiny little bit on the chin as well, just to give you a bit of glow and a bit of life back to your skin. It's then important to go back over the edges where you've applied that highlighter to make sure that it blends in with your blusher and bronzer. So use that same brush that you use for the blusher and just go over the edges. I'm now using a nude lip liner and lining my lips before I fill them in. The gloss that I'm going to use is a Jordana T-shirt one in the shade Prom Queen, but I then did switch it up to a nude as well, so you can see both options depending on your preference. Okay, so I just changed the lip up to more of a nude lip. This is a Doll Beauty lipstick in the shade Golden Girl with the Doll Beauty gloss on top and MAC lip liners. This is just a little bit more me, but you can wear it either way. That is the finished look, and I'm feeling like a real cheerleader again. It makes me miss it so much, but I just feel like way too old now. So if you're from East Elite, I really hope that that's helped you, and you can use this as a reminder before your competitions to do your makeup that way. Any questions, just let me know and I will be able to recommend other products for you, other shades, anything like that. If you need any help, just give me a message. All of the links to the socials and everything are down below. If you're not from East Elite but you've made it this far anyway, then thank you so much for watching. I hope this has helped you to incorporate colour into your makeup looks a little bit more, and you're a bit more confident with that. So thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.